8:17 p.m. in the early evening on March 16th of 2021. And I originally recorded this video, it was about 5:30 a.m. in the morning. And I thought, and of course I did this after an experience, I thought I was completely done. I was going to finish up and then I was going to post the video. But I decided to re-record, and the reason is because I had a conversation with my mother, and I always talk about my experiences with my mom. And after speaking with her, and after really seriously considering this, I think that I wanted to add something that, if it's true, for me personally, could be a breakthrough for me in a sense. And it's so interesting because sometimes you have an experience and it just doesn't seem like it's much. I've had those before where they're fairly simple. They're over with very, very quickly. And I think to myself, okay, it was an experience. Every experience is unique. Every experience is amazing because I can do what I do, but it is an experience. And I tell you, after speaking to my mom about this, let me first tell you about the experience that I had, the beyond body experience, or what I thought was a beyond body experience. And then I will let you in on the theories or theory that I have about this. So it started around, as I said, about 5:30, 5:40 in the, actually, I'm sorry, no. It started more like 4:30 in the morning is a better time, is a more accurate time of when it began. I was, of course, for those of you who are interested, using storm sounds. And I laid down, I went to the restroom, came back, laid down, I was relaxed. And I definitely had the intent to have an experience. In fact, I was imagining my hands pushing through space. And I've talked about this technique that I developed kind of on my own, where I imagine my hands pushing through space as if space were a barrier. And this time, I don't know why this was, but there were actually sparks. I started imagining sparks coming out as I was pushing through space, as if there was friction being created as I was trying to push through. This seemed to assist me in some way. I don't know where it came from. My imagination seems to have a mind of its own at times. So that's what I was imagining. And eventually it flipped on like a light switch, and suddenly I was in that in-between space, that sweet spot, what I like to call a sweet spot. And it's interesting, I don't know what this is all about, but for some crazy reason, these countdowns, if those of you who have listened to my video on Saturn and visiting Saturn will recall that I heard this countdown. It was like 4, 3, 2, and it sounded like someone at NASA counting down before a rocket was going to take off. Well, I heard the same thing with this experience. I heard this 10, 9, 8, 7. And I think in my thoughts, I was smiling because I always think this is kind of cool to do it. And I can't imagine why in this experience that happened. I know that it's kind of this thing. It's sort of like this buildup of excitement right before it occurs. And I could hear that voice. And it sounds, by the way, it sounds very official, like someone actually from NASA is counting down. And yeah, it's very kind of cool. So I did hear that. And then at one point, I felt myself begin to roll to the left. Now, I talked to you before about this sensation of almost like you're rolling down a hill. And by the way, I should take a moment for those of you who don't listen to all my Beyond Body videos. The difference between the Beyond Body and astral projection is in astral projection, I feel my soul, my spirit being separating from my body. When I do the Beyond Body, it feels as if my entire body is in motion, moving forward, moving left, moving right, depending on what place I might end up going to. It's a very interesting sensation to feel, and that is the big difference. Now, this began as a Beyond Body experience, or at least that's what I felt like I was going through. So I felt this rolling sensation. And if you can imagine rolling down a hill, if you were to lay down and roll down a hill, most people, I would guess, would get dizzy if something like that occurred. When this occurs, when I'm in this state of consciousness, I don't get dizzy at all. And I actually felt myself actually sort of skip into the air or get, I didn't feel like a force picked me up. I just felt like I just kind of shot into the air and then came down and kept turning until I stopped and I was face down and I could see the silhouette of a fence. At this point, well, after the silhouette, it slowly developed into a 3D fence. At least that's what I could see. So the darkness lifted, and as the darkness lifted, this silhouette became more and more 3D until it was an actual fence. And I was standing there, and I went beyond this fence, and I was in a park. In this park, there were a few things I remember. Number one, there was fog in this park. That's number one. Number two, it was dark, and that doesn't happen a lot. I don't usually visit places that are night. It's usually daytime when I come to some place. So that was a bit unusual too. And what I saw, or what I observed as I was walking through this park, first of all, this was a park and it did not look like it was well cared for at all. It didn't look like the grass, parts of it were green, but there were these bald spots in the grass. And, in these bald spots where there was no grass, it was muddy or there was dirt. It just wasn't a well-tended park at all, at least in my opinion. And as I walked, I saw that there were a group of other people that were walking. And during this time, I decided, I think wisely, to just stay quiet and just observe what I was seeing. And I considered, as I was looking around at this park, that everything looked very Earth-like to me. So I didn't feel like I was very far off at all from this world. Plus, my journey had been fairly quick, so it made sense to me that this place would look a lot like the Earth. Eventually, I ran into a man, and the man had a white beard, white hair, looked older, while perhaps the other beings that I saw looked younger. And I decided at that point that I was just going to ask this man, where am I? What is this place? Now, when I asked this man what this place was, he immediately came up on me and started hugging me or moved really close to me. Now, for those of you who have been listening to the Beyond Body, you know that I have been getting better and better about being able to be open to other beings and speaking with other beings. So I've been getting better about that. But in this particular instance, it did not feel comfortable for this being to be right up on top of me like this. So I told this person, hey, look, can you back off a little bit? And to his credit, he did back off. And at that point, I again decided to ask him, what is this place? What world is this? Now, at this point, I almost feel as if I'd made an error in judgment speaking to this person, because He did not seem to be a very pleasant, very nice being at all. First of all, he was like, well, how would you not know where you are? Sort of my worst nightmare of asking someone in one of these experiences, where am I? You would think someone would actually say that, how could you not know where you are? And well, that is pretty much what this person said to me, which kind of was, how could you not know where you are? And then I told this person that I was from Earth, and this person kind of made fun of me. This is kind of the gist of what it was. I don't remember all of the details of the conversation, but let's just put it this way. It was not a pleasant, as I said, a pleasant conversation at all. This person did not seem to be a very nice person at all. And as my experience was ending, and it ended kind of abruptly, as my experience ended, I remember this person said right before I left, he said, I wish this was Earth. And that's what the last thing, and then I was back here. So it was very interesting. This is where it ended before for me when I was talking about the experience earlier this morning. But after speaking to my mom pointed out, and she gave me some insights into other possibilities. The possibility that I wasn't in some parallel universe, but I was actually on the astral plane in a place where spirit beings that are kind of just wandering around and haven't moved on and perhaps are miserable are hanging out. There are places like that. And it made me really think, guys, it really made me think, for the longest time, because I have experienced parallel universes where everything has been solid, there have been places where I can't fly, it seemed very physical to me. But I'm beginning to open up my mind to this, which I think is quite interesting. This vessel that I use to be able to do the beyond body is adaptable. Perhaps depending on the frequency, and perhaps there is some instinctive ability on my end to be able to raise or lower the frequency level when I'm out there in this vessel so that I could be seen, and then there would be times when I wouldn't be seen. Now, there are things to back this up because I've had experiences where I have attempted to talk to people and they just haven't heard me. I'll say, hi, hello, hey, what's going on? And they can't hear me. Also, again, I've talked about places where I can fly. Now, I do believe that there are some places where the rules, the physical laws are different and you are able to fly. But there may also be a possibility that when I'm able to raise my vibrational frequency when I'm out there, I am able to fly, and maybe, I haven't tried this yet, I might be able to, in one of these parallel universes, walk through a wall depending on how much I can raise that frequency. It's kind of interesting, but it's something that this has to do with something that I've talked about before in regards to not limiting yourself in these experiences, not defining them, not saying this is this and this is that. This is a lucid dream. This is an astral projection experience. This is the astral plane. And instead of doing that, take a moment just to imagine, just open your mind for a moment. Instead of being grounded or being stuck in what everybody else says that's out there in, say, the New Age movement or whatever, I want you to take a moment and really sit and think, sit and imagine the possibility that all of these things are linked together. That your spirit being can be in a lucid dream. Your spirit being can also be out into the astral plane. Your spirit being can also go out into a parallel universe. And it can take perhaps different forms. It can be seen. It can not be seen at times, depending on what you want in that moment or you desire. I think the possibilities are infinite. I think I'm just kind of going off here. Sorry if I'm not making as much sense as I normally do, but I'm just kind of letting it ride, guys. I'm letting it ride on this one because, well, I think it's interesting. I think the prospects are interesting, and I think I'm going to continue experimenting and pushing the envelope. And I think that that's really what this is all about. And I want you to think about doing that too in your experiences. Push the envelope. Go beyond what people are saying that you should be able to do. Push it. Push the envelope. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on another journey with me. And until next time, take care.